Hey guys, how are we doing? So we're back on another video from Annie News. I say videos. I'm going to be doing part 1 and 2 in this one, so bear with me in the middle if there's a little bit of a blah, blah, blah. I'll have to sync up the second one later. But we're doing Shirou Kotomine. Is that how you pronounce? I thought he was interesting. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while now. Wasn't he like the ruler class from the previous war beforehand? And now he's trying to get the Grail to save humanity in his own little way. Yeah, because he was able to use a noble phantasm against them, and people going, "Oh, what is using?" Plus, it's Shiro. You know, he's got that same kind of character design as Archer's costume from Unlimited Blade Works and that. But anyway, let's get into this. Shirou Kotomine explained, part 1, and then we'll do part 2 afterwards.
Let's talk about anime Jesus.
Okay.
I'm not even joking when I say that. If you guys wanted to know who the Japanese version of Jesus was, then you're looking at his anime incarnation.
Such a cool design.
But before I get started on Amakasa Shiro Tokisada and who he is, I'm gonna make a request of you guys. You know how this is a democracy, right? I post a poll, and then you guys vote on who I cover next. Well, listen, I would really appreciate it if you went and voted for the caster of Red. You know, this useless character.
Shakespeare.
Because that's just who I'd prefer to cover next.
Right.
In the end, it really comes down to what you guys decide, so it can't really be helped. But, you know, I think it'd be pretty
cool.
Let
me look at my list. Spoilers, yes.
Anyway, let's get into who you're here to see for this episode.
Alright.
The ruler of the Third Holy Grail War and the leader of the Red Faction, Shirou Kotomine.
So cool.
Now, it's been a while since my last ruler video, so I'll give you a quick refresher on the ruler class.
Okay.
It's a specialized one that is only summoned when the Holy Grail War requires moderation. The Grail has determined that someone or something is breaking the rules, and summons the ruler class to make sure that everything proceeds smoothly. So we already know why Jean was summoned for this rule, but I believe the question that you'd like answered would be why was Shiro summoned as ruler for the Third Holy Grail War, and why did he not disappear when it ended? Because, as we've seen in the past versions of the Fate series, the Third Holy Grail War never had a ruler. So what changed in this timeline that resulted in Shiro having to be summoned? Which you should already know is no small feat in itself either, since, as I've said before, and pretty much mentioned just now, you pretty much have to be Jesus to be summoned as a ruler class.
Right, yeah.
Or the next closest thing, which is a saint. Which means no desire for the Grail and no wish that needs to be fulfilled. Which brings us to Shiro's interesting case, since he clearly has a desire for the Grail.
Grail, yeah.
I mean, we hear him say almost every episode that he wants to bring salvation to mankind. So how did he even end up getting summoned as the ruler in the first place? Well, all that will be answered, but as always, let's first talk about who he was back when he was alive.
Cool.
Unless you're familiar with Japanese history, it's very unlikely that you've heard the name Amakasa Shiro before. But he is based off of a historical figure, just like all the other servants. The historical Shiro lived a short life of 17 years back in the early 1600s, the Edo period.
Oh.
He was born of Catholic parents and became seen as essentially a holy person because he was said to perform miracles from time to time. But his name has been passed down the ages not because of those miracles, but rather because of his actions during the Shimabara rebellion. This is claimed to be a religious uprising of Japanese Christians against the shogunate. But there was a mix of factors that led to this outbreak of unrest in an otherwise peaceful time.
Right.
The first would be the insertion of new power over the land. The Arima clan had previously ruled over Shimabara, and they were a Christian group. Thus, many of the people who lived there were also Christian.
Right, okay.
When the Arima clan was replaced by the Matsukura clan, many Christians became persecuted for their conflicting beliefs. Not only that, but heavy taxes were being put in place in order to fund the creation of a new castle. Losing money is enough to make any person get angry, but the poor treatment of those who were Christian led to the plotting of an uprising. Shiro was the closest thing to God that the people had at the time.
Right, okay.
Since they were just peasants and Ronin, he was selected as the person who would lead the rebellion. And this was when he was only 16 years old. Shiro led his group to Hara Castle and successfully took it over from the shogunate. The fact that Shiro was able to lead a group of mere peasants and disowned samurai to momentary victory is what grants him his legend. These are a group of people who should have had no chance in beating trained warriors,
right, but
yet they were still able to succeed.
Plus class.
They were also able to hold off a few more assaults when the shogunate force of 125,000 tried to take it back.
Damn.
But Shiro's mere force of around 40,000 was losing morale, and one of Shiro's men betrayed him and leaked information to the shogunate forces. With this information, the shogunate was able to take back Hara Castle, and every single rebel was slaughtered in the process. Including Shiro, who was first taken captive and then executed to have his head displayed on a pike in Nagasaki to ward off any more potential rebellion.
Damn.
It's said that his final words were, "I shall return after 100 years to take my revenge." From this, many Japanese Catholics consider Shiro to be a folk saint, which are people who were said to be very spiritual during their lifetime and considered saints by others, but not recognized fully as a saint by the church through canonization. So for example, Jean is a real saint, but Shiro isn't.
Oh.
Which brings me to the Fate version of Shiro's past. They refer to him as the Boy of Miracles, the closest to a saint that isn't a saint. They say that he was able to heal many wounds and even walked on water. Many started to call him the Son of God.
Wow.
But these miracles were attributed to his affinity to magecraft. Magic came naturally to Shiro, so naturally that he wasn't even aware that he was using it when he performed his miracles. Whenever his power would manifest itself, it was always through his subconscious. Then the Matsukura came, and with them came the heavy taxes and famine. This led to mass despair, and many people's only salvation came in the form of Christianity. But once the Matsukuras started to persecute them even for that, they had enough. Shiro became their leader, and with the help of the Ronin, he started an insurrection. It was the mindset of the people who fought for their cause that bears a lot of parallels to Shiro's current rules. They fought to defend their beliefs, and even though they would be sacrifices, they thought that their sacrifice would help make the world become reborn. Shiro knew this as well, and even though he knew victory would not be possible, he still fought so that this new world would be achieved.
It's class. It's
But
class.
then the impossible happened. A miracle allowed Shiro and his forces to win. But Shiro knew that this shouldn't have happened. Only a few were supposed to die in order for the message to be sent. But now that they've taken the whole castle, the only message that the shogunate would see would be a pointless rebellion that needs to be wiped out, and everyone would end up dying for it. So just as it happened in history, Shiro was able to defend the castle multiple times, but he ended up being betrayed, and information was leaked to the shogunate commanders, who then used that to cut off their supply of food.
Oh.
The shogunate moved in when they were at their weakest and slaughtered everyone except for the traitor and Shiro. Before Shiro was executed, his only thoughts were that his actions led to the slaughter of his people. He knew he may as well have killed them with his own hands. He accepted the loss and took responsibility for the lives of his people, but he just couldn't accept that all the work they'd done would just be for nothing. So before he died, Shiro made one last prayer. He said, "So God, give me another chance. Next time, I won't lose sight of the bigger picture. I will eliminate all obstacles, enemies, and hardships in my way. Next time, I will obtain all the good in the world. A world where everyone is happy, everyone is good, and everyone is perfect. I will exterminate all evil and create a new, pure world." And that's Shiro's past.
Damn.
Although he never came back 100 years later to get his revenge, he is back in Fate Apocrypha to create that world where everyone
Yeah, like what he was planning on doing.
to bring salvation to mankind. Now, since Shiro also has a past in the Third Holy Grail War, I'm gonna have to talk about that too before I get to his abilities. But since he's also got a long list of abilities, and I want to give a pretty thorough explanation of what had happened in the Third Holy Grail War, I'm gonna end this video here and post a part 2 tomorrow. I know it's a bit of a cop-out, but it's a bit easier on me if I split it up into 2 videos.
That's cool. That's cool.
I hope you understand, but as always, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this type of anime content, then you already know what to do. So until tomorrow, ciao!
Right. So that was part 1. Let's watch part 2.
Okay, I know. It's a little bit later than from what I promised, but welcome back
Not
anyway
for me.
to part 2 of my closer look into Anime Jesus,
Cool.
aka Shirou Kotomine.
So cool.
In this part, we're going to get into what his role was back in the Third Holy Grail War, as well as talk about his abilities and noble phantasms. But first, if you haven't voted for the caster of Red yet in the community poll, please, just do me this one favor
That's
and vote.
funny.
We're so close to beating out Atalanta, and listen, if I have to do her next, then guess what? You're all out of female characters to pick from.
Damn.
So, don't you think it'd be a nice Christmas present to see an episode dedicated to one of your waifus
Up
over
to the bow.
holidays? It's not too late to change your vote if you voted already. You know you can do that, right? So just go ahead and click on Caster of Red for me, please. Anyway, let's talk some more about Shiro, starting with a quick reminder that this is a different timeline from the Fate Stay Night universe. Although we've seen
Yes, it's not like
characters like
the
Iron Man
exact
and Cody
same.
Mays, the major differing event was the manipulation of the Greater Grail to summon a ruler rather than the Avenger. Basically, the Ainsburns were planning for years on who the best servant was to secure their victory, and they had narrowed it down to either the Avenger, who they thought would be an absolute beast and just totally wreck everyone with sheer force,
Right.
or the ruler, who was a safer pick because he'd grant them the natural advantage with his numerous command spells.
It's
And
handy
you'd think
having
that
those
with an
command spells
advantage
now.
like having a servant who can basically control all the other ones would mean certain victory. Like, he could literally command all the other servants to kill their masters or themselves.
God damn.
Easy. But that wasn't exactly how it turned out. You shouldn't underestimate the power of the Nazis.
Oof.
Darnik Preston Yigdamilenia, who we see in the flashbacks, was working with the Nazis to secure the Greater Grail.
Yep.
And he also had the Lancer Finn Makaru as his servant to fight against Shiro in one of the final battles during the war. Shiro obviously won, thus bringing the Ainsburns the closest to the Greater Grail. During this momentary victory, Shiro was able to come into contact with the Grail, which in turn had granted him a physical body over his spiritual one. This is what has allowed him to exist all these years in the real world. You may have thought that his Ainsburn homunculus master would still be alive, but as you saw, that wasn't quite the case. The three major families, the Ainsburns, Tosakas, and Makiris, would have been the ones to take ownership of the Grail, but they were exhausted from the previous fights during the war. So Danik, who found its whereabouts underneath Mount Enzo, led an invasion with the Nazis to secure the Grail. It was during these battles that Shiro's master was killed and the Grail stolen.
No.
Shiro didn't disappear, though. He remained materialized because of his contact with
the Grail, right.
Now, this is where Shiro starts to interact with a lot of the characters that we already know from the Fate's Day Night timeline. Shirou Kotomine was the moderator at the time of the Third Holy Grail War, and normally the moderator isn't supposed to intervene while the war is still going on.
No.
But Rise was friends with the Tosaka master and went to go rescue him during the Nazi siege of the Grail. During this, he came across the now masterless Shiro, who tagged along to help with the rescue work. Once that was done, Shiro tells Rise he's going to go on a journey of enlightenment. Rise offers to help by granting him a position in the Kotomine family, giving him the name and identity of Shirou Kotomine, the foster son of Rise. The two kept in contact up until Kirei was born. Shiro knew Kirei was an odd person, and sensed that if he had gotten too close to his technical stepbrother, it would have been a fair bit of trouble.
Right.
So Shiro kept his distance, only seeing him one more time at their father's funeral. It was after this that Shiro confined himself to the Middle East for 20 years in search of the catalyst for Semiramis, and this was all for preparation for the upcoming Holy Grail War. He was able to find 3 catalysts over the 20 years, but was also given a 4th once he was declared to be one of the masters representing the church in the upcoming war. Shiro had planned for this. He planned for all of it, even the summoning of Jeanne d'Arc as the ruler.
Clever.
Once Semiramis was summoned, he found the other 5 Masters of Red and coerced them into giving him full control of their servants. And the rest is pretty much where Fate Apocrypha begins. So it'd be pretty interesting to see how everything else turns out once the show reaches its conclusion. Obviously, if he wishes upon the Grail for the salvation of mankind, it'll just end the same way that Fate Zero did. But maybe he's accounted for that as well and has a different method of his wish. One thing to note,
it is weird that he didn't do these when the series had ended, but
hated all
no.
of mankind. Remember when he was confronted by Ryder about his resolve? Shiro said that he hated everything and everyone. That was because of how willing humanity was to accept their failures and then repeat them. He doesn't see how humanity can constantly refer to life as being priceless, while at the same time snuff it out like it's nothing. So he hated all of it. But rather than bearing this resentment within him forever, he accepted it and lives with it now through his mission to save mankind. Although that's just based on the words that he says, but I think that we should know better than to trust someone as manipulative as him. So that's who Shiro was and is. But what about what he's capable of? Well, considering that he's the ruler class, that means that he has God's Resolution, which is 2 command spells per servant that participated in the Third World War.
Yeah.
But only 3 in this war since he's only a master. He also has the True Name Discernment class skill, which shows him all information on any servant, including identity and skills.
Right, okay, so
Other
knows
skills include Revelation,
what they are,
which is pretty much battle instinct, Charisma, which is the natural talent to command an army, and Baptism Rite, which is a type of magic where he links his 2 noble phantasms together, performs a chant, and causes the enemy to sublimate.
That's class.
He literally kills someone by turning them into a gas.
That's amazing.
Shiro was also given what's called a spirit board by the church, which lets him see the status of every servant in the war. It's used to track down other servants and determine their identity, or even see if one has been eliminated from the war. Now, almost half his skills come from being a ruler, but if he wasn't a ruler, he'd actually be a pretty trash servant.
Really?
He's not very good in close combat, and isn't proficient enough in magic to be a caster class. He's quite fast though, and is still considered a heroic spirit, so he does get some noble phantasms. Both his noble phantasms coincide with each other. One's his left hand and the other his right. They're called the left arm, Foundation of Heaven's Blessing, and right arm, Wickedness Predation.
That's so cool.
And they both allow him to use any of the miracles he was said to have performed for his persecuted people back when he was alive.
Wow.
In other words, it allows him to use any type of magecraft. His 2 arms link together the foundation of all magic and make it possible for him to use any type of it, even types that he was not even aware existed. Although, using a particular type of magic and mastering them are two completely different things. That's why he's still considered a pretty weak type of magus. But other than infinite magic ability, his right arm also grants him a little bit of precognition, which gives him the ability to predict the future. And his left arm strengthens the body and has the minor side effect of eternal youth. I doubt that needs an explanation, but you can attribute his long and ageless life to this handy side effect.
That's cool.
Anyway, that's pretty much everything on Shiro. I'm curious to know how you guys think things will play out in the next few episodes, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to go vote for the caster of Red in the poll. I'm gonna try my best to get out a news video tomorrow, so we'll see how that turns out too. So until then, ciao.
Class. There we go. Shirou Kotomine. We did it. We checked out both parts. Freaking cool. Interesting stuff. I did like how in the flashback you got the old weird dude crawling away in that, like, which you recognize from Fate Zero, and that's like, that's class. That's really class. So yeah, I think it's Caster of Red next. He got his wish. Oh, I'm tired. It's like 10 to 3 in the morning here. Like, I'll finish work and realize I had no videos for today. So anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Excuse me. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. I'll see you guys next time.